Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Let's get after it.
What the f?
I think that might be a gas station or something.
I guess. Whoa! Oh! What the? No! No, baby! No!
Please! Are we dangerous here?
Yeah, we're dangerous. Oh my God! Oh dear!
Are you filming?
Yes, I'm filming.
Whoa! Whoa! I think we are dangerous.
Let's go! Let's go down! Let's go!
Let's go! Take the stairs!
I don't know if that was the biggest explosion in the world, but it's certainly a contender. Can anyone drop me a line down in the comments and let me know where this took place? Because this looked like it likely took out, like, an entire town of people.
Time travel, baby. An update on the time traveler?
On TikTok?
Yeah.
Remind me.
Ooh.
Okay, remember that young guy walked into the shed.
Oh, came out old.
Some people took a picture of the old man that walked out. They did like a reverse image search
Yeah.
of him, and this man popped up. His name is Stephen Albert Miller. I looked up his LinkedIn. Nothing crazy. Graduate of Harvard University, and he ran a website page called nukewatch.org. He had done different questions in it asking about time travel, different dimensions, where he like posted just like really random obscure pictures. It almost seems like cryptic. Yeah, and that was posted in 2009. But then he has an obituary to where he died in 2018. It's weird. So it could not be him, or it's probably not, more than likely.
It's just weird that this dude is on the internet with history, going through all these weird things, and then he becomes accused of being a time traveler against his will.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Learning stuff new every day.
The plot thickens. Pretty interesting how similar that guy looks to Stephen King, and then they do a reverse image search, and the guy's name is Stephen, and he had some cryptic website where he's posting all this stuff about time travel and stuff like this. Very interesting. Probably clues to nothing, but very interesting anyway.
Do not watch this video if you don't want nightmares for the next week. Oh my gosh. So my last video went super viral talking about dead eyes. I've been going into a little deep dive, and this brought me to the uncanny valley. Why do things like this creep people out? Or any of these images? Well, to put it super simply, the uncanny valley is as things become more lifelike or more human-like, they hit this threshold where it becomes super creepy. That threshold, that valley is called the uncanny valley. So I've been going throughout the internet finding images that are, within that threshold. When I tell you I was not prepared for what I found, oh my. I saw this image and I was like, that has to be AI, because it's weird. Again, if you don't want nightmares, do not keep watching this video. Because that image was real, and it was made by an artist named Kate Clark, and she does human-like taxidermy. She puts human-like faces on these animals. Look at... I feel so uneasy right now. Look at that. What? You can find what museums it's displayed at. Like, I cannot. Am I overreacting, or is this so freaking... This creeps me out.
So if you haven't heard my theory on the uncanny valley, I believe that we, at some point, coexisted with something that looked just like us, probably or likely Neanderthals. I think that they were hunting us because they were more animalistic. They weren't human, not in the same degree that we are, and that we learned that even though they look like us, they're to be feared. And so they look similar to us, but just something was off about it. They just were probably dead behind the eyes, probably just didn't have the same emotional structure that we have. They were just violent. And so because of that, we've learned that if something looks like us but isn't quite right, stay away from it. I've seen probably 40 plus of these clips from this Portugal meteor or whatever it was, and that's by far the coolest one. That's a 1 in a million shot right there. So I just wanted to share it because of how freaking cool it is.
Not one, but 2 moon trains are being funded now. NASA plans to build a levitating robot train on the moon, not to mention the underground railroad system that's in the works. They say this will minimize the lunar footprint. I only know of 1 footprint on the moon. Does the moon have a climate crisis now with no atmosphere? But let me get this straight. You can't figure out Artemis 2 and 3 because of safety reasons? You can't figure out how to get a 4-man crew to the moon, but you want an underground railroad system where you would have to send a 6,000-ton boring machine there? Not to mention the rails and the train cars and the size of the crew? Don't get too excited, guys. You're not going to the moon. Every president since I've been alive has been telling us we're going back to the moon. The lunar lander weighed 16 tons, and you want me to believe you're sending an entire train to the moon? Each train car is like 80 to 150 tons. Wait, both trains are projected to be underground? Are they both supposed to levitate too? Let's say you're an investor that invested in a vehicle company, and that company comes up to you and asks you for more money on the investment to make the cars fly as well. And then you ask them, well, can you show me it drive first? And they can't even show you that. Would you give them more money to make those cars that they can't even figure out how to drive to fly? You destroyed this technology. It's a painful process to build it back. Apparently, because if you can't figure this out to get these people there, then why do you expect us to believe you can do this? Get out of here!
I love this guy's videos. Yeah, I don't think this is coming to fruition. I don't see us building anything on the moon. We can't even get people up there right now. And my favorite theory on why is that, and when I say my favorite theory, I'm not saying that this is what I believe. It's just the most interesting sounding thing to me. So my favorite theory right now is that we were gifted the technology to get us to the moon if we went. And that technology was taken away from us. It wasn't that we lost it, but we were given that technology and then it was taken away. It's the only way to make what NASA claims make sense, because they're saying that they had the technology to get us to the moon decades ago, but they've lost the technology and it's a painful process to build it back again. And to me, as well as many others, that's a lie. There's no way that you develop the technology to do something in the 50s and then turn around and forget that technology when it's something as pivotal as getting us off of the planet. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't add up. Hey, if you're enjoying this video and you like this kind of content, I make a new one just like it every day, Monday through Friday. It'd be awesome if you'd hit that subscribe button and come back tomorrow to join me.
You guys want to hear this crazy story about a bear attack? Gene Rowe, November 1st, 1999. He was hunting for deer on Kodiak Island in Alaska. Finally killed a deer, and while he's field dressing it, he heard growling behind him.
Uh-oh.
And he turned around, and it was a 10-foot tall bear weighing 1,400 pounds. So before he could even react, this bear came over and bit his arm, almost ripped it off. But while it was biting him, he kicked the bear in the throat, and the bear stumbled back. He remembered he had a knife on him. He pulled out the knife, and then he slashed the bear's throat, and the bear went down, and then he stabbed the bear in the vertebrae. He said at that moment, he just prayed to God. He's like, God, whatever you have to do, please save me, get me out of this. The story goes that they were literally circling each other. He had so much adrenaline in him. He said with all of his strength, they charged at each other, and he punched this bear as hard as he could in the mouth. So hard that it said that he broke every single bone in his hand and fingers, but it knocked the bear out.
No, it did not.
He knocked the bear out, and then he ran over and grabbed his gun and shot it. And they have his knife in a museum on display.
That's sick.
Wow, way to go, Gene Rowe.
That's a good
He
dog.
knocked a bear out.
So this guy had one arm almost completely ripped off, and then with the other one, he punches the bear out, breaks every bone in his hand, and still manages to use one of his mangled hands to pick up a gun and end the bear's life. That's the ultimate bar story. He'll never not be the coolest guy in the room.
And the Earth's energy, it's called the Schumann energy. And the Schumann energy of the Earth, Mother Earth energy, it resonates at what we call 7.83 hertz. It's a vibrating energy. Some of you who are very sensitive or very intuitive can put their bare feet on that morning grass that's a little bit wet, or on concrete, or on sand at the beach, or on brick, or tile in your house on the first floor if it's not insulated. You're not going to ground yourself with wood or asphalt. Asphalt's man-made, but concrete's good, brick is good. And some of you might feel that little vibratory energy of the earth. And this is what happens, Tom. The earth is struck by lightning thousands of times a minute, particularly around the equator. If you walk outside after a lightning storm, and that energy is so charged, or just walk outside any time and put your bare feet on the ground, you're going to absorb those electrons. This is why we take antioxidants, why some of us take CoQ10 out there, which is the best antioxidant you can possibly take, or melatonin, which is another, really potent antioxidant, is that it ties up marauding free radicals in the body. And these free radicals cause accelerated aging. You can also get antioxidants through your feet. And basically, in our foot, what we have, K1 point of the foot, it's an acupuncture point. And when the foot is placed on the ground, what'll happen is, whether you're wearing leather or barefoot, is that through the K1 acupuncture point, there's an energy meridian that goes all the way up through the back, through your spine, through your brain, on the back of your tongue to the roof of your mouth. And it is part of what we call the kidney meridian in the body. And it's a major acupuncture channel which will deliver more electrons. Because remember, we think we're flesh and bones, but we're really electrical. We're electrical beings. One of the things that grounding does for you is that it balances the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. The experiments that I did with earthing, we shows that it supports heart rate variability, meaning that your nervous system is more relaxed. The other thing, the greatest discovery I've ever made in my lifetime as a physician, and we know that grounding for 2 hours thins the blood. And one of the reasons that we have so much illness in our society today is that our blood is like red ketchup. It should be like red wine. But what makes it like red ketchup? Well, trans fats do, sugars do, electromagnetics does. In other words, computers, cell phones, Wi-Fi. All those electromagnetic forces are they're chaotic forces, non-harmonious forces that thicken the blood.
So I believe in the effects of grounding because I have experienced them myself. Whenever I get inflammation in my back, my right leg starts hurting so bad I can barely walk. And I can go outside and sit on the bottom porch step and put my feet in the dirt, and it goes away in about 10 to 15 minutes, and I can get up and walk almost completely normal again. But what I found interesting about this is him talking about how often the earth is struck with lightning, that it's constantly being fueled by this electrical charge. And then that's why that electrical charge is there. I just found that interesting because I've never heard that explanation before. I've never heard it explained before.
Could the geocentric model be God's sacred algorithmic birthing clock? Is it a coincidence that the seed of life pattern looks like a luminary path? What about this seed of life, the spark of light when the human egg gets fertilized? The Antikythera mechanism, the geocentric astronomical calculator, coincidentally reminds me of a cipher, a decoder, along with the astrology wheel. The Flat Earth Clock app is set up like a clock. God set those lights in the sky to serve as sacred times, signs, days, and years. And coincidentally, the clock in Prague shows where the sun or the moon would be in the constellations. And we all know that the sun and moon represents the masculine and the feminine. This is even biblical. So where the sun and moon were in the constellations during your time of birth would determine where your masculine and feminine traits come from. I don't have any feminine traits, dude. I'm a man. Dude, you cried during Old Yeller. Shut up. Let's all be honest. We've looked up our star chart to find crazy similarities with our personality traits and what the astrological signs say. So, if God is the amazing creator that he is, which he is, then wouldn't he depict our personalities based on where we were born in time rather than geographic location? So depending on where the sun and the moon are in these constellations would depend my personality traits. So as this astronomical clock keeps turning, we are born in places in time, and our personality traits just so happen to match up perfectly astrologically. Isn't that a coincidence? Our creator's magnificent clock, his decoder. I was born during an eclipse. The sun and moon were both in Pisces. Then I find out people that were born during eclipses, they have unique talents, abilities, or perspectives. They may have a special purpose or mission in life. All humility and humbleness. That feels like me. But that's not the only thing that feels like me. I looked into my entire star chart, and where these sun and moon and all these luminaries were positioned, it comes out exactly my personality. So what if God would have set up his algorithm geographically? Like all the people here would be Sagittarius, all the people here would be Pisces, all the people here would be Capricorn, so on and so forth. Don't you think there'd be wars? If the personality differences were so vast, continent to continent, they'd be trying to blow each other up. But if God set up the algorithm on when you would be born in time, in season, then people would be born all over geographically with different personality traits. I know there's a lot of stigma behind astrology and it's demonic and all this stuff, but look, let's be honest. Who set these things here for signs and times and sacred moments? This is God's clock, and we live on it, and we are all parts of him. God sits above the circle of this earth, and if you think about Enoch, it talks about all the multiple layers of heaven. So what if it is like clocks and gears and portals, and as they turn, your souls are being crafted by the Creator, and as these things turn, it opens up that section, that portal, where God sends your spirit down. You hit your mother's womb with that spark of light. Now you're here to live your purpose.
I'm curious to know what y'all's thoughts are on this stuff, because in my eyes, I've always viewed the astrology stuff as kind of hocus pocus nonsense. I feel like most of those personality traits that they attribute to whatever month you're born in always seems to be very vague and complimentary. Like, for example, I'm born in February. They say if you're born in February, you're supposed to be attractive. Of course, I want to think, oh yeah, that fits me perfectly. It doesn't. I want to think that it does, but they're all have stuff in them like that. So like if you're born in a certain month, you're going to be a nice person. Everyone wants to think they're a nice person. If you're born in a certain month, you wear your heart on your sleeve. Everybody thinks that they wear their heart on their sleeve. Everybody thinks that they're emotionally exposed, and that's why they get hurt so often and all this, because they keep opening themselves up to people and getting crapped on. These attributes that they try to give you based on what month you're born in are so vague and so complimentary, it just all seems like garbage to me. But I'm curious to know what you guys think about it.
If you needed further proof that we live on the remains of a much larger past, and that geology is nothing more than hardened biology, let's take a look at where a trendy and popular ingredient you might have in your cabinet came from: Himalayan salt. You tell me what these caves look like. Let's take a look at some of that salt taken out of these mines and collected into a pile. Now, do those not look like slabs of meat or what? Here's a closer picture of one. How about now? If pork ribs aren't your cut of choice, don't worry. There's many other cuts to choose from here. In the right conditions, after a great flood-like event, buried and covered in sediment, these petrified beings became the new mountains and hillsides of this realm. If you aren't convinced, let's do a few more side-by-sides. You got rock and meat. One of my favorites, you got bacon, and you got bacon rock. History is nothing more than a set of lies agreed upon, and the same goes for most all of academia. The truth is in the hillsides and in the mountains, hidden in plain sight. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
Okay, I'm not convinced that Himalayan sea salt is from the arteries or the muscles and membranes of some deceased giant, but I do believe that giants existed, and I do think that it's very suspicious looking seeing all of these stones that look like they have faces and stuff that are naturally formed in them. This stuff is pretty convincing. I'm not saying that I am convinced, completely opposite. I need a lot more information, a lot more proof before I'm going to jump on this bandwagon and say, yeah, those are totally the deceased remains of giants. But I threw this in here just because it is it's such an out there idea, but there are photos that make you sit and look and go, wait a minute. So it's It's a fun one.
Breaking news. This is all the latest in the UK in 60 seconds. There's a lot of laws changing in the driving world. First of all, the potential of having a 100-mile-an-hour speed limit now. And now they're also starting to gradually implement banning new drivers from taking any passengers. 9 social media influencers, including one from Love Island, have been prosecuted over a giant scam. Some of these brokers and things aren't actually regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority, so it's technically fully illegal. And these people will be hit with a huge fine or could even go to jail for up to 5 years. Rishi Sunak made an announcement the other day saying we are living in the most dangerous times ever and that we have never been at a higher risk to nuclear war than the Cuban Missile Crisis. Great. Cheers, mate. So yeah, apparently we're at a huge risk and he's called off a general election saying none of that will happen because of the risk. So, yeah. In about a week's time, NASA, along with people in Scotland, will be searching for the Loch Ness Monster. Yeah, this is real. Locals and authorities up in Scotland at Loch Ness urged NASA to come and help with the search for a couple of days at the end of this week, which is on the bank holiday, and they will be searching for it. So yeah, I'll keep you updated on that. Breaking news, UK scientists along with scientists in Italy and Sweden have found potential signs of these giant objects in space. These things being called Dyson spheres apparently, which literally siphon energy from stars so aliens can use them. Sounds fake, but I literally saw it in the newspaper, like, what is going on? I don't know if I believe that, to be honest, mate. Lots of people are doing their exams at the moment, but yeah, you might not be for very long, as they are still trying to approve plans to essentially scrap A-levels and exams in that area, meaning that everybody has to stay in school till they're 18 doing maths and English, whereas before you could obviously pick whatever subjects you want to do. So yeah, I don't know what's going on. I do these roundups regularly, so as always, make sure that follow button and I'll keep you updated.
I threw this clip in because I thought it was interesting that they're actually going to do a recon mission to see if they can track down and locate the Loch Ness Monster. The Loch Ness is one of my favorite cryptids. It's right up there with Bigfoot. I totally believe that it's possible that Bigfoot exists. The Loch Ness Monster, I think, is a little less likely. It's in such a specific location. I mean, there's live webcams that point right there at the water looking for the Loch Ness Monster at all times. You can get on right now online and look up those webcams and sit and watch them. I find it very interesting, not only that they're going to try to find this thing and see if it's actually in there, but that they're, for some reason, employing the assistance of NASA, which doesn't make any sense unless you take into consideration all of NASA's underwater exploration. And maybe they have some sort of expertise in underwater phenomenon that we're not aware of, that governments are aware of, and they're sharing this information. And that's why they thought, wait a minute, if we're going to find this cryptid creature, maybe we need to employ those that are the best at it. And that's why they called NASA. So, I don't know. Just a lot of thinking out loud right there, but I think it'll be very, very cool if we actually find something or get some actual evidence that points in the direction of the Loch Ness Monster actually being real. So, we'll definitely keep tabs on that.
He found a certain bug that didn't fly, it levitated. And this was, he'd put this bug into a little vial or something, and he saw this vial jumping up off the lab table, jumping up and down. And of course, this is patently impossible based on any type of normal physics. So he got into this, and he found out that the bug wings themselves were creating an anti-gravity phenomena under certain conditions. And of course, what we have here, if you analyze, I think I found the bug. It's actually a beetle. And if you analyze this bug structure, you see a hexagonal pyramid structure array throughout the entire bottom wing of this bug. Turns out that beetles have two wings. The top wing is called a wing cover, and what the beetle does is it lifts this wing cover up, and then it flips out its lower wings, or inner wings. Now the bug cover protects the inner wings, but when it gets excited or something, it flips these other wings out, and it flaps these other wings, and the inner wings flap a little, and this beetle goes gyrating around. They can't fly very good, but they sure levitate great, I guess. And anyway, he took a whole bunch of these bug wings, and he glued them to like a Venetia blind structure, and he put it into a little platform he built. So they were all, these bug wings were all covered in here. And he used I theorize he used the wing covers as well as the inner wing itself. There's also a kind of a handlebar on this thing with some controls. You can see the thing a little better here in detail. The controls, I think, had to be manipulated continuously and probably vibrated to create the same action that the bug was doing. There was also down at the base some kind of a lever, which I suspect controlled the amount of lift he was getting out of this thing. Anyway, Grebennikov claimed that he could fly this thing or levitate it, and it would go around at almost 1,000 miles an hour. Now you ask, how can that happen? Well, he said that there was an energy field that built up around this thing due to this gravity field building up in the platform, and by this thing building up, it built out a force field that basically surrounded him and protected him from the local environment. So even though he was flying at 1,000 miles an hour, you could go, you could be wearing your Sunday best suit and not get it flutter a bit at 1,000 miles an hour. I'm not sure I'd want to stand on something going 1,000 miles an hour that's 2 feet square. But this picture here shows him sitting on the ground, and these pictures are much better if you get on the KeelyNet site. This is the platform with him on it about 3 to 6 feet above the ground, because here's the shadow here down below. Now you could say this is all faked, but if you get into the other things he did with shape, they almost mirror the stuff that I discovered, and it proves, I guess, that there's either two crazy people in the world, or there's two people that have found the same discoveries. So I think that this is a valid phenomenon, and I'll show you why. Next slide is a micrograph that I took of a beetle inner wing. This is at 100x. If you look closely at this thing, you can see rows of bumps all along the bottom of this wing, each row is staggered from the next row next to it, and this is all over the surface of the bottom of the wing. Now, I don't know of any aerodynamic surface that has bumps all over the bottom to help it fly better. If you blow this up to 430x, you can start to see some of this microstructure of the cells that form where these bumps are. The next slide, at 970x, you start to see what these bumps that stick up are. They're hairs, look like hairs or fibers that grow out of the center of these hexagonal cells. And of course, this harkens back to my basic shape power discovery, is that each one of these, because of their shape going down to a point, is creating a magnetic field. And remember, a magnetic field is a rotating piece of vortex in the ether.
So I know that bees fly by hovering, that they create a sort of force field around them. It wouldn't be outside the realm of possibility that a beetle flies in a very similar fashion, creating a force field around itself as well. Getting a bunch of bug wings and attaching them to the bottom of a box and then standing on that box and it making you levitate makes zero sense. It sounds like bad science fiction. It wouldn't even make a lot of sense in a poorly written book. So I'm not saying that to just write it off. I'm saying that because I'm just being honest with my thoughts on it. It sounds like someone's pulling our leg. The fact that there's video evidence of this guy claiming that he's rediscovered the same stuff and that the techniques are working and that he's getting this stuff to function the same way this other guy did, I need to see more proof. I need to see somebody recreate that box, get on it, and actually get video of them hovering. And until I see that, the idea is as silly as it sounds to me. It's just a guy stapling a bunch of bug wings to the bottom of a box.
How does this guy have all these bones? Like, this is crazy. What is this place? What an amazing, fortunate find. You have found evidence of human beings, right? What's that one bone that has a human face carved into it?
That one there was found on a tailing pile.
That looks a lot like the Shroud of Turin, by the way.
Yeah,
doesn't it? That's
paleontologists told us that was natural.
What? Paleontologists told you that's natural?
Natural, and I look at it.
What? Cut the cheeks, nose, mouth, eyes.
And I posted that, Joe, and about half the comments were, learn how to take a picture, would you?
Yeah, right?
The only thing in focus is your pickup truck.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah.
I'm a boner.
Yeah, that does not look even remotely natural. Has that been carbon dated?
No, this is the one that I carbon dated.
So let's talk about that. These sawed bones, now you have carbon dated them, and they're to when?
You're not going to believe this, because we got all excited when we found them.
Yeah.
They're 190 years.
Have any academics reached out to you after the podcast?
Did he say 190 years? Did he misspeak? Did he mean to say 190,000 years? Because like that I could get behind. I totally believe our history is a lot longer than what they claim it is, but 190 years would mean that these things were still here less than 200 years ago. If that's the case, that makes me feel like I don't know anything about our history, that's probably true. But guys, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. But before you run off, I've got some mail to open. Our first package comes from a gentleman named Will Pickering. He sends a note that says, "Hey Barry Stepp, I thought you got kind of screwed not being able to print and sell the NASA shirts, so I went ahead and drew you up a design. You shouldn't have any issues with copyright on this guy. Just left it blank, so for you to add color if you wanted or not, up to you. It's for you, so do whatever you want. I hope you sell a bunch, bud, and if you would ever like other designs, just email me at Wildcat." Well, I'm not going to give out his email address. Later, Gator, Will. P.S. I hope you like it. I think this is pretty cool. What do you guys think? Should I turn this into a shirt? I think I'm gonna. That is awesome. Thank you, Mr. Will Pickering. I really appreciate that. I was a little butthurt over not being able to sell my NASA shirt, so awesome workaround. Next, we have a package from Angelique Bergsma. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. It comes with a letter. "Hey you, I wanted to give you something that I thought you might like, so I do hope you like it. Very proud of what you have accomplished so far. Hope you will wear it sometime. Angelique." I haven't made one of these yet, so now I've got the only Let's Get After It hat. That is awesome. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate this. And it's an extra large flex fit hat. Didn't know if it came across on video the size of my head, but you got it right. And lastly, we have a package from Shane Oliver. Well, there's quite a few things in here. We have a book, Stalking the Wild Pendulum on the Mechanics of Consciousness. Sounds very interesting. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Oh, and we got a letter. Well, here, before I read the letter, let me tell you what else is in the package. There's also a DVD of the Gateway Experience. So I don't know if that's the actual files that he's burned off or what, but it looks like he's also given me a printed copy of the Gateway Experience. So very cool. He even printed off the Gateway Intermediate workbook for me. That's very cool. The material contained herein is intended for the personal and private use only by those who have completed the first session of the Gateway program. The attempted application by others may result in undesirable and uncontrolled effects detrimental to any such unauthorized user. Ooh, that sounds fun. And this comes with a letter in the book here. So I am going to read this letter from Shane. I'm just going to read it off camera because I don't want y'all to have to sit here and listen to me read for 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you very much, Shane. This is really, really cool. The things that y'all send me, I never know what to expect whenever I open a package. I don't expect anything. I don't expect to get anything from anybody. But the things that y'all send me are just so cool. And it's like Christmas morning every time I go to my P.O. box. I just can't tell you how much I appreciate everything that you guys do for me. And, you know, the stuff that you send me, the comments that you leave, the pictures that you post, and the links that you post to interesting things over in the Discord. I just really, really greatly appreciate everybody so much. Thank you so, so very much. But I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I hope everybody has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your evening, and I will see you in the next video.